Good evening. Good evening. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of Trafford Council's Planning and Development Management Committee. My name is Councillor Barry Stanley and I'm the chair of this committee. Can I extend a particular welcome to those in the public area, but I'd like to remind them that whilst they are welcome to observe the meeting, this is not a meeting in which they're invited to participate unless by prior arrangement. I'd also like to emphasise the safety and security of visitors, councillors and staff attending public meetings remains a priority. In order for us to be able to conduct business effectively today, I should make everyone present aware that if a member of the public interrupts proceedings, I will order their removal from the premises. Thank you. Please can I remind all those present that we're making contributions to the committee. Comments should strictly relate to the planning merits of the case. Discriminatory or defamatory remarks not appropriate and should not form a part of any discussion. Can I ask if anybody present intends to photograph, film or otherwise record the meeting? Okay, thank you. In any event, we are being recorded for live and subsequent broadcast on the Council's YouTube channel. Continuing on. To my right is Councillor Sue Maitland, who is Vice Chair of this committee. To our left and right are Council officers from Planning, Legal and Highways. To our front on the right, in the main body of the Council chamber, are the rest of the members of the committee, who are all local councillors. I'll introduce them as they speak. To the agenda, item 1, attendances. To note attendances, if we just have, and any apologies. We have apologies this evening from Councillor M. Taylor. Item 2, declarations of interest. Members to give notice of any personal or prejudicial interest and the nature of that interest relating to any item on the agenda in accordance with the adopted code of conduct. Does any member wish to declare an interest? Thank you, members. Item 3, minutes to receive and so determined to approve the correct record. The minutes of the meeting held on 10th of April 2025. Could I have a proposer and a seconder? Thank you, councillors. Item 4, questions from members of the public. We have one this evening, which Ms Coley will take us through now. Thank you, Ms Coley.
Thank you, Chair. This question is from Hilary Morris on behalf of the Friends of Rybank Fields Committee and the Trafford Rybank Road Residents Association. Due to the strength of public opposition, 630 plus opposing representations received by Trafford Council to date to the proposed Manchester development of 120 homes on Rybank Fields, Chorlton, to the proposed loss of the Rybank Community Garden, a Trafford asset of community value, to the proposed Manchester City Council road access across the Trafford cul-de-sac, to the negative impact on the heritage asset of Longford Park Conservation Area and the tree boundary shared with Rybank Fields, to the loss of the community amenity of urban green space and the loss of the ecological importance of Rybank Fields urban green space on the Longford Park Nature Recovery Area, when will the Planning Committee make a visit to the Rybank Road Community Garden, to the heritage asset of Longford Park Conservation Area, boundary in the Fairground Field and the Longford Park Rose Garden, and to Rybank Fields to gain first-hand experience of the impact of this proposed development? And will the Planning Committee allow the relevant community groups to be present? The response is as follows. Trafford does not routinely organise site visits for its Planning Committee. It is therefore not possible to confirm when members may be visiting the site or to invite community groups. In addition, it would not be appropriate to invite community groups to a site visit. The Planning Committee Code of Practice specifically states that site visits are not an opportunity for lobbying of members. Paragraph 6.3 of the Code of Practice states, site visits are for observing the site and gaining a better understanding of the issues. A councillor is only entitled to view the site from public vantage points and they have no individual rights to enter private property. They cannot enter private property unless they are invited and should only do so if there's no alternative to gaining a proper understanding of the scheme from public viewpoints. Site visits should not be used as a lobbying opportunity by objectors or supporters. This should be made clear to any members of the public who are there. If members are invited onto a site by an interested party or otherwise encounter them whilst on site, they should explain that they cannot engage in a discussion or hear that person's views about the merits of the case, and if necessary, direct that person to make their views known through the formal process, i.e. either by making representations in writing if they have not already, and or by registering to speak at the committee if they are able, and or by asking their ward councillor to speak on their behalf. In visiting sites, members should act in a way which is fair to all interested parties, and also take a step back and consider if they are acting in a way which would be perceived as being fair to all interested parties, even if there is no intention otherwise. For the avoidance of doubt, the advice in the Code of Practice applies equally to an applicant and their representatives as it does to those who object to planning applications. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms Coley. Item 5, additional information report. To consider a report to the Head of Planning and Development to be tabled at the meeting. This has been so tabled. Item 6, applications for permission to develop. To consider the report of the Head of Planning and Development for the listed applications. We have 2 tonight and the process is the same in each case. The item is introduced by a member of the planning team. If we have speakers on the item, they then speak next. Members of the public get 3 minutes. Ward members get 5 minutes. The item is then opened up for debate to members of the committee only, and we then come to a decision by majority vote. First item on the agenda is 115894, 28 Victoria Road, Sale. It's on page 1 of the pack, and Miss Milner will give the introduction. Thank you, Miss Milner.
Thank you, Chair. The application relates to a 2-storey mid-terrace dwelling located on the west side of Victoria Road, a residential street in Sale. Planning permission is sought for the change of the use of the dwelling from a C3 dwelling house to a C2 children's home for up to 3 children. External alterations are limited to the addition of access ramps to the front and rear of the property. The application is reported to committee following a calling request from Councillor Will Jones, and also the application has received 12 local objections from residents. The issues raised include the principle of a commercially operated children's home in a residential area, noise and nuisance from the proposed use, from the occupants, from comings and goings associated with the use, and the impacts on highway safety and parking concerns. A summary of the objections received is within your committee report. Officers consider, given the proposal is for a residential use in a residential area, and given the scale of the proposed C2 use of up to 3 children with 2 staff, the proposed use is acceptable, and given the scale, not materially more harmful than that of a family dwelling. Conditions proposed include restricting the number and age of children and number of staff present. We've also proposed within the additional information report that the ramps shown on the proposed plans are installed prior to occupation. We have consulted the local highways authority, our colleagues in environmental health, nuisance and pollution, and our children's services, and no objections have been received. The application is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the conditions within the committee report and additional information report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms Milner. We have no speakers tonight, but we do have a written statement by Councillor Jones, which Ms Coley will read. Thank you, Ms Coley.
I'm making this written statement as Councillor for Brooklands on behalf of residents as the application has been recommended for approval. I ask the committee to consider the following reasons for rejection or amendment of the initial plans. 1. Victoria Road is a quiet residential area with light traffic. The proposed change of use would increase traffic and parking at the location. Examples of this would be staff coming and going at the beginning and end of shifts, family members visiting the site, plus extra vehicles such as deliveries and trade waste pickups. Can provisions be made to mitigate parking nuisance to residents should the plan be approved? 2. The building in question sits in a row of 4 houses that, as they are of old housing stock, party walls are thin. The change of use to a children's home would likely increase noise pollution levels for the neighbours. I would ask for provisions to be made in the plans to mitigate this issue.
Thank you, Ms Coley. Any member wish to speak on this application? Councillor Proctor, Councillor Minnis, Councillor Thomas and Councillor Eckersley.
Thank you, Chair. This is similar to a previous application that we approved, and having listened to and read the objections, this is a place where 3 children and 2 adults are going to live. There are plenty of families with 3 children and 2 adults living somewhere, and kids make noise. I've chosen to live near a school, and kids make noise. I love it. I struggle to understand the objections, and I move that we, I'm sorry, I've forgotten my words. We vote for it in line with officers' recommendations, but I know I've missed something out in there. Propose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Minnis.
Thank you. I'm quite shocked at what I just heard in that statement, and I found it disgusting, actually, saying, oh, children make noise. Yes, they do. I have two myself. In our family home, We're semi-detached, so we are joined with next door, and I can hear next door an elderly lady, and actually it's a good thing I can hear her because I know she's okay. And I'm sure she can, well, she probably doesn't hear much these days. But my point is my children make noise, my cats make noise as well, and collectively the 5 of them do make a lot of noise. But, you know, I don't think that people should be objecting to my children existing or having somewhere to live. I find I'm absolutely shocked. I'm just, yeah, can't understand. Can't understand even Councillor Jones's statement either in that regard. I will be seconding that absolutely that we give children somewhere, children in care, somewhere to live. And I think this is a really good chance actually to live in a normal residential area, like effectively where families normally do live. I think this is a good thing. So I'll be seconding the proposal to vote in line with the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be quite brief because most of it is covered off. With the residents that are objecting, would they come to council and stop a three children family moving into this property? No. I have my daughter and her fiance have moved in with us, 4 adults. We don't make too much noise. We don't get complaints from the neighbours. We've got 2 cars. There could quite easily be 3 cars in a family. People move into housing. We are aware that parking is premium on road, especially where there's no off-road parking. Whoever moves in there will do everything that is outlined in the objections. So I would have proposed and seconded, but our support.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Eckersley.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I understand what the residents are saying here, and I can appreciate Councillor Jones being in support of residents' concerns. What I just wanted to ask is whether there is a minimum requirement for a property like this to be used as a children's home as such in this particular case, because it does seem like quite a small space for children with extra needs that a typical family would have. Is there anything around that?
Can you pick up that, Councillor Milner? Sorry, demoted you, Miss Milner.
In regards to the size of the space provided,
Yeah, and the adequacy of it. Yeah.
I think we have looked at the space and it is detailed. But this is a standard family home. All the rooms are compliant with what we would expect in a standard family home. So for us, it's an acceptable use. It's acceptable in terms of its scale. So the bedrooms and the living space, you've got a separate kitchen diner and a separate lounge, and you've got 3 separate bedrooms and a bathroom. I think this is a good standard of accommodation. None of the bedrooms are undersized. So we think, whilst there isn't a requirement for us, in terms of we don't have a specific standard for a CT use in regards to floor area, this, as a planner, I can say is a good standard of accommodation.
Thank you, Miss Milner. Councillor Jerome.
I would agree, Chair, with what the majority of councillors have said so far. One, if you look at the management plan, it goes into quite a lot of detail, but it talks about trained and qualified, experienced staff, and there will be provision of staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they'll be working with vulnerable children, but offering emotional support, educational structure, and safeguarding oversight. And if you look at the values of S&C services, you know, their main goal is developing confidence among these children and resilience and long-term positive outcomes. And this is the kind of provision that's badly needed, not only in this borough, but across the country. So I can't really see a problem. And when you look at the plan as well, the plan, I think, as officers have said, has got 3 adequate bedrooms. There is a smaller bedroom, but that's for an under 10-year-old, so I think it's perfectly reasonable. And you've also got the staff at the very top floor as well. And on the ground floor, there's ample space, I think, and provision for those children. So I can't see any reasons why we would object to this application. So I'll be supporting officer's recommendation as well. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jerome. No, I agree with what the rest of the speakers have said. This is a family home which is being asked for permission to be used as a family home. I can see no reason to object to this. So it's been proposed and seconded that we approve this and that officer recommendation. All those in favour, please indicate. Okay, make that unanimous.
Yep.
Thank you, members. Next item on the agenda is 116064, 15 Delamere Avenue in Sale. It's on page 12 of the pack, and Ms Milner will again give the introduction. Thank you, Ms Milner.
Thank you, Chair. This application is reported to Planning Committee as the applicant is a council employee. The application is for a single-storey rear extension that connects to an existing extension at the rear and projects by 3 metres. It complies with adopted policy and guidance, and no objections have been received. Therefore, officers recommend approval subject to the conditions within the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Milner. We have no speakers on this item. Would any member wish to speak? Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, this is one of these rare occurrences where it has to come before us. I see no reason to object. It fits in well with the residential area. I'm quite happy to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Baba.
Nothing more to add, but I'm happy to second that we go with the officer's recommendation to approve it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. In the absence of anyone else wishing to speak, yeah, the only reason this is in front of us is because this is an employee of the council. It's a completely non-contentious application with no objections raised at all. It's been proposed and seconded we approve this and allow the officer's recommendation. All those in favour, please indicate. Thank you, members. Make that unanimous. Moving on to item 7, it's a discharge of a planning function to Manchester City Council in relation to 142744/10/2025, and Ms Coley will take us through this. Thank you, Ms Coley.
Thank you, Chair. This is a matter that quite a few of you will have seen before at the various committees it's come to, where there is a site, mainly in Manchester, with a very, very small part of the scheme extending into Trafford, but very minimal in relation to the overall proposal, which is for a substantive high-density residential apartment scheme for over 200 apartments and a part hotel and ancillary works, and the majority of the land in Trafford would be set aside to public realm, rather than there is a small amount of the building on it, but not very much. There have been a number of iterations of the scheme. This is the latest Section 73 application, so a variation of the approved plans condition. There are a number of changes which officers have looked at. The vast majority of those have very little impact externally or indeed on Trafford at all. The most substantive change is an increase in the height of the building by 1.75 metres, which accommodates an additional storey, so the building would go from 24 to 25 storeys. However, in the context and over that height, that will not be particularly noticeable. Officers are therefore recommending we delegate the application to Manchester to enable them to determine it as a whole, and that if there are any further Section 73 applications that they can get on with those as well, given it is again unlikely to be materially different. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Coley. On the basis we've already delegated authority for this, this is a small change to a previous delegation. I'm happy to propose we accept the recommendation in line with officer recommendations delegated to Manchester. Can I have a seconder? Oh, many seconders. So that's been proposed and seconded that we accept the officer recommendation in terms of delegation. All those in favour, please indicate. Make that unanimous. Thank you, members. That concludes the section of the meeting which we will broadcast. So we'll finish the meeting there. If we can finish the broadcast. There is one very small item that we need to discuss, but it's be very quick. But it's of no interest to the people watching this at all.